and welcome to Global Methodist Voices. It is good to be back with you today. I am Justin Arnold. One time, my friend asked my professor what his favorite part of being a doctor was, and he said that it was when he could check into a hotel, he could have them call him doctor, as opposed to just Mr. So I guess my favorite part of being a pastor is I can put Reverend instead of Mr. I don't know. It's totally useless information. So there you have it. I hope I'm recording this right after we finish annual conference. If that was, if you were able to go, I hope that you experienced the love of Jesus there. You were challenged, you were pushed to live sent, and that you celebrated the truly multicultural, multi-ethnic worship that we had, speaking that we had, and just the celebration that was had at annual conference. We got a little bit of business done because we had to, but the rest was about equipping folks to head back to the church, to be the church outside the four walls. So I hope that you will check out everything there is to check out about annual conference and see the kind of post of that. So today we have a very special guest. This one has been a friend. She's served in the GMC since its inception, and pretty much everyone's had to talk to her at some point if you're a clergy. But we have the Reverend Robin Parr. So welcome to Global Methodist Voices.
Hi, Justin. It's so good to be with everyone today, and especially to be with my friend and talk with you about what's going on.
So, Robin, before we get too started, remind people kind of where you're serving now and what you're doing. We'll talk just stateside first.
Sure. So I am the associate minister at Dahlonega Methodist Church. I have been appointed to this church for 9 years. First started in the UMC and then the GMC. Love the folks here. Love Dahlonega. Always get to that point of pinch me. I can't believe God let me be here. It's a wonderful place, wonderful community and congregation. I am also a presiding elder. The joke is I do whatever Andy tells me to do.
That's funny. I got a phone call from him yesterday, and I just do whatever he tells me to do too. So
There
we're
we
all in the same boat.
Right.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you for serving so well and so long there at Dahlonega. It's seems like a great place and an awesomely fun town, and quaint and exciting all at the same time. So
Right. Plus,
um,
I'm next door to you.
yeah, you're just down the road and in the same district as me. Well, in the last couple months, you've had an opportunity to have kind of a different way to serve in the GMC and even at a more global level. So what have you been doing for the last couple months? You've only been back in this time zone for a short while.
Yeah.
What have you been doing for the last few months?
So yeah, I from the first week in February until the first week in May, I was serving in the Czech Republic, and I was actually uh, appointed, you can say, to the English-speaking United Methodist Church in Prague.
In Prague,
Yeah,
a city of uh, a few years of history and
yeah. Just a
and
few, just the 100 spires thing.
I love it. I love it. So what would you say ministry looks like there versus Dahlonega? I mean, this should be about the same, right?
Yeah, no. So, if it's okay, I'd like to tell you kinda how this happened, and I
Of
think that
course.
yeah, I think that that would let you and especially those who are watching and listening will get a better understanding of why what we're doing and why we went over there. So about 2 years ago, Jeff Jernigan came to me and said, "Hey, would Dahlonega be willing to, do a English camp?" And it would be a youth, so middle school, high school English camp, in the Czech Republic. And I already knew that in our old tribe, that McEachern, he had started this ministry at McEachern, and I want to say it's like 20 years old. Uh, but McEachern was asked to do this, and they started this going in typically July, and for 1 week teaching English to uh, folks in the Czech Republic. And Jeff told me, he said that they have a vision now of going beyond that. So it went from McEachern to Macklin. Macklin now has the ministry, and of course, Judy Stevenson, I believe, is heading that up for Macklin. But Jeff said, we want you guys to go um, and start another one in another location so that we can get more kids involved. And at the time, we weren't even quite sure what the location would be, but that location ended up being Yakimov, which is um, really going to be about northwest in the Czech Republic. And I, the senior pastor at Dahlonega is Steve Schofield, and we are a very missional church. We already have a church and a school in El Salvador, and that is just doing extremely well. Matter of fact, that church and that school is going to plant another church and school in another area of El Salvador. I mean, it's the multiplying. It's how it's supposed to be done. It's the Acts 1:8 church. Um, but Steve said, our congregation is growing, and you and I've talked about this, that we need to, as a church, expand beyond El Salvador. And he says, maybe this is what God's calling us to do. So I went back to Jeff and I said, yeah, we'll do this. The neat thing about it is we partner with a church in the Czech Republic, the Pilsen United Methodist Church. The pastor there is Milan, and they have a team of about 8 people who we partner with to do this camp in the summers. I began to pray about it, and God, I believe the Holy Spirit really formed the team that I have here in Dahlonega. We went last summer in July. Andy Postel actually went with us uh, with the understanding that we would meet before and after camp with the district superintendent of the Czech United Methodist Churches. Her name is Ivana, and we would meet with her husband, who is also a pastor, Peter. They shared with us the vision that they had for the Czech Republic and for the Methodist churches. Just to let you know, they have voted to disaffiliate from the UMC. That has been accepted, but it will not be ratified until the UMC General Conference in 2028. And at that time, the Czech churches will leave the UMC formally. Um, but what they're going to do yet is uncertain. Uh, so that's why I partner with them. But they told us then that they need help. There are only 10 ordained elders, and at the time there were only 2 ordained deacons. But this past their annual conference, which was also this past weekend, they ordained 2 more. So they have 10 ordained elders and 4 ordained deacons. But the problem is that they've got to fill 18 churches. And so how do you do that? Yes, they are using kind of what we're doing. They're using some, uh, you know, lay speakers, licensed local pastors to fill those pulpits. But it's still, the problem really is that they cannot fill the pulpit for the English speaking church. The English speaking church is exactly what it sounds like. It is a church that the whole service, instead of being in Czech or Russian, that's another church that they have, it is in English. And that they needed help with that. They only have, I would say, 3 pastors, ordained pastors, who speak English well enough to be in that church, but they need those pastors in other churches. They do have a pastor, Yana, who was appointed to the church, but it would be like a 2-point charge, kind of. She really is in charge, appointed to a Czech speaking church in Prague, but she would go once a month to the English speaking church, have a sermon, and of course, she would serve communion on that one Sunday. But what they needed a pastor in the pulpit. And so they planted that vision and Andy and me, and we came home. Well, I'll be honest with you, Andy and I are walking the streets of Prague talking about what God is asking of us, what He's asking us to do, to go to Samaria and to the ends of the earth. And Andy threw out, "What if you went and served?" And I immediately said, "You got to be kidding." I said, "Andy, I can't leave my church for that long. I, Dan, there's no way. Dan and I've only been apart for 2 weeks at the most. There's no way I could even consider 90 days, that kind of thing." And he dropped it. He didn't say another thing to me. Um, but I continue to talk with Ivana, I continue to talk with Peter, I continue to talk to the Pilsen Church. We've gotten really close to Milan, and especially to the youth pastors, and that's um, Philip and Miriam. And the more I talked to him, the more I fell in love with the Czech people, and the more the Holy Spirit said, how in the world are you going to get pastors to serve 90 days in the Czech Republic if you're not willing to do it yourself? And God was, there have been a handful of times when God has been very firm with me, and this was one of those times. And so I called Jeff up. He was the very first one that I called up, even before Dan. I called Jeff up and I said, "Jeff, I think I'm supposed to go do this." And I just started crying. And Jeff got emotional, and we knew, that this is what we were supposed to do. And it's crazy how everything just kind of fell into place. Um, even Dan, as hard as it was for Dan, he looked at me and he said, I know. He said, "I know that this is what you're supposed to do." And he says, "We've been married for 40 years. God knows we have a very, very strong marriage. And He knows that this will strengthen our marriage." And yeah, God made this work. So I have been I did not go for the full 90 days because I do have to go back in July to run the English camp again with my team. So I was there for really about 76 days so that I can get back in. As many of you know, you can only stay for 90 days and then you can't get back in for another 140. So I had to guard my time. But I did serve, like I said, um, all the way through Easter. Basically, my last Sunday was the last Sunday in April. So I was able to serve all through Lent and through Easter. So, and it was absolutely, um, everybody says, "Did you have a good time?" God gave me mountaintops, definitely. But it sounds so inadequate to say, "Did you have a good time?" It was eye opening, life changing. It was an understanding that even as much as I want to understand, I will never fully understand. And something that everybody listening needs to know is that the reason why we're going to the Czech Republic is because only 12% of the Czech Republic are Christians, and only 6% are practicing Christians. And the majority of those practicing are Catholic, and very, very few are Protestant. So that's why I went.
Oh man, that just sounds uh God ordained, and it really sounds like it was meant to be. Um, I've never traveled anywhere where you had to have a visa or, I literally got my passport in the mail yesterday. I couldn't leave the country until yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's not even been on my radar to go to the other side of the world, but now, I mean, sounds like it could be fun. Um, so your primary goal there was preaching every week,
Mhm.
but preaching every week, so you're about an hour for the service, unless they have super long services.
Yeah.
Um, then you have about 20 hours a week in sermon prep. Let's just give you all 20 hours of sermon prep.
Sure.
So 168 hours a week, you've got 21 of them accounted for. What other fun stuff did you get to do while you were in the Czech Republic? I mean,
Yeah.
did you get to tourist at all?
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Oh, definitely. And Dan and my younger son, Michael, my younger son is a high school teacher and also a varsity football coach. And so during spring break, he convinced his dad to come over. So they came for the week and we went all over the Czech Republic, which was nice. Of course, toured Prague, but then went to some other places as well. And so, yeah, I mean, it's total public transportation. You hop on the tram to go from point A to point B, or you can take a Bolt if you have to. Instead of an Uber, you take a Bolt. But also the big thing is that you can get on the train and you can go all over the Czech Republic. You can go into Germany. You can go into Poland. I mean, you can everywhere. I went to Slovakia and it cost me $32. So yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Well, that means a lot, especially if your European geography is really good. Mine is not. I actually literally just looked on Google Maps where the Czech Republic was to find that it's surrounded by Germany, Poland, and Austria.
Hmm.
So there's that. And I did read a book where it was set in Prague. So there you have it. That's how I know a little bit about Prague. But
Okay.
what was your what's something that you kind of expect, right? You expect preaching, you expect the Holy Spirit to get involved, you expect, was there anything that happened that you couldn't have expected that was better than you could have expected?
Multiple things. First of all, I want to tell you about the congregation. Uh,
Okay, let's hear it.
so, and this is just how the Holy Spirit works. I remember going before the board of ministry in the UMC, and you know that question that they ask you. They say, if you could have any church, if you could be appointed to any church, what would it look like? And I, without hesitation, I said multicultural. I grew up in Hartwell, Georgia. My and I was born in the '60s, so we're talking about, d growing up right after desegregation. I mean, think about that. Um, but my parents were way ahead of their time. First of all, they were in their 40s when I was born, so they were older, but they were way ahead of their time. We grew up Southern Baptist, but down the road was a, African American church. It was actually a CME church, and, they about once every 6, 7 weeks, we would attend that church, and I fell in love with they didn't have any instruments when we first started going, and so they would tap the beat on the wooden floor to keep time, and that was a part of the worship, and it was the line singing where the worship leader would sing a line and then the congregation would sing after, and I that was and then it was a long sermon followed by lunch on the grounds, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the African American people. I fell in love with their worship. I think that I fell in love with God through them, more so with their church than I did with my Southern Baptist white church that I went to. And so when I was asked, what kind of church would you love to have? Without hesitation, I said multicultural. And God honored that. And so the English speaking church in Prague has folks from every continent in the world, except of course except for Antarctica. Um, but I had folks who are members from India, from all over Africa, including Nigeria, our partnering conference.
Yeah.
I had folks from Australia, from Norway, from Russia. I had Americans. My worship leader's from Alabama. He's been teaching in Prague for about 10 years now. Um, and of course, I had a few Czechs as well. But I mean, there were people just from all over the world, and it was amazing to be in that location. And one of the things also I loved about the church is every week we had as many visitors sometimes as we did congregation members. because people would come to Prague for either vacation or work or even to visit a loved one who might be in school at Charles University. And so, and what would draw them is their love for Jesus Christ, looking for a Protestant church, and it speaks English. And even those folks would be from all over the world. It wasn't always just, Native Americans or people who speak English. It was people who are from other countries, but they also speak English, since we know that that is the language of commerce. So
Oh, wow.
that was just incredible to experience that and to listen to them about what's happening in their countries and how God's moving in their countries and to worship with them. One of the things that I was able to do since I was there during Lent is it had been like 15, 20 years since they had some of the services, such as I got there before Ash Wednesday. And so I did an Ash Wednesday service, and they had not had an Ash Wednesday service. Well, this particular congregation had not at all. And also, I was able to do like a Monday, Thursday service and a Good Friday service. And so to watch them experience that for the first time, I mean, that was the Holy Spirit. That was a mountaintop. Um, Another thing that happened is I got to meet, so one of the things that the the church has is it's not like church like we know it, like the building. The building is not a typical church building. Instead, it's this big, just brick building. It's the best way to describe it. Um, One part of it, you have apartments, and I actually lived in one of those apartments. I was about 3 flights up. That's where my flat was. 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. Um, but then also you had a daycare that was in that building, a preschool really, not run by the church, but they pay rent to be in there. Then you also have the church itself. You have where the worship, the sanctuary is. Um, then you go into a courtyard area, and across the courtyard you have a whole nother building, and it's a dorm. It's a college dorm, and it is run by uh, the United Methodist Church, the Czech United Methodist Church. They have that building so that college students who believe in Jesus Christ will have somewhere to live. And the neat thing is that not only does it draw believers, college students, that age believers, but it also draws college students who are looking for a place that, because they know there are Christians there, they know that it will be quiet, that it will be calm, that a whole lot of partying will not be going on, that there's goodness there. And so I got to meet Michael, who is actually from Slovakia, and he runs a small group, a Bible study. He's been hired by the way, he's Catholic. But again, remember, there's not a lot of Methodist ministers, so they got to use who they've got. But Michael is amazing. He is deep in his faith. He is just was a joy to get to know him. He's in his last year of med school in Charles University. Um, and he introduced me to the college students, and I got to lead a Bible study during the time that I was there. And definitely a mountaintop experience. I had college students who came who very strong Christians, some who were kind of believed but wasn't sure, and some who were just seeking. They hear the voice of Jesus, and they're trying to figure out who this is.
Mhm.
And by the end of my time, um, I didn't baptize, but I did get to anoint and ask the Holy Spirit to baptize 2 of the women, the young ladies who were in the college dorm. And that was amazing. I mean, that was going to the ends of the earth, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. The, uh, the reports have come out that most of Europe uh, really became post-Christian well before the United States ever even considered it. And so, yeah, I mean, uh, you have you weren't necessarily in them, but that area has some of the most beautiful, oldest
Yeah.
church buildings that are no longer churches. They've not operated as a church for decades, sometimes even more than a century. That they sit um, unoccupied as a place of Christian worship. So, yeah, so this is big deal stuff happening, and I love it. All right, a little less serious.
Okay.
What was the best food you ate over there?
Ooh, and I don't want to upset my Czech brothers and sisters, but I don't really like the food. It, it's okay. It's okay.
All right.
Um, it's a little heavy, and it's the spices. Not a lot of spice. Well, let me restate that. Let's just say the spice profile is very different. Um,
Okay.
it, it's now okay. So the funny part is the best food I had. So once a month we had a potluck in the church. After church, we'd have a potluck. And remember, I've got a multicultural,
Oh, this
church.
sounds awesome.
But my favorite food was actually their food, the food that they brought. It was, the African food. Oh, man, it was so good, and the Indian food, I wasn't I wasn't sure that I liked curry, but then they started educating me on the different types of curry, and so they would bring something different, and I found, hey, I really when you know what you're doing, I really do like it. So, I loved that part of it. So that was some really good food. There were some really pretty good desserts. Most of their desserts are not as sweet as ours. I'm not big into their pastries, but I did like some of the artsy desserts that they had. So that was good.
Okay. Well, so you're going over there for the Holy Spirit, not for food anyway. So
That's right.
that's okay. And I I can honestly say that I've never eaten somewhere that specifically advertised as Czech food in stateside. So
No.
um maybe that's a thing, you know. But it's all good. Is I had heard that there may be an opportunity for other clergy
Yes.
to do something similar. So can you give us a little insight as to, is that an option? Could God be calling someone else to go to the Czech Republic
Sure.
and serve this either this congregation or another?
So what Ivana and Peter have asked of us is if we would be willing to help supply pastors, um, especially until they can get through the disaffiliation in 2028. Um, the church itself really would love to have a pastor who could serve more than 90 days. I mean, that is a need. I mean, as you and I as pastors, we know the it's vital to have a pastor who walks with that church, who lives with that church, who is leading, ordering the life of the church, living life with the people. Um, I am working with Bishop Webb. Bishop Webb is the bishop who is assigned to Central Europe, uh, working with him, working with the GMC as a whole to see if we can possibly find a pastor who might be willing to serve for more than 90 days, but that's going to take time. Um,
Sure.
we if we can have it happen sooner than 2027, great, but it may be the beginning of 2028 before we can do that. So my goal right now is they do have a visiting pastor who is able to uh, be there from September until December 1st. So what I'm trying to do is to line up pastors for all of 2027. I mean, so that they don't have a lack or a gap at all. Because think about it, right now they're just having to make do. They're having to use congregation members whoever they can to be the pastor there until this pastor can come in September. Um, so ideally, what we're asking of our GMC pastors is God calling you to serve the English speaking church in Prague for 80, let's just say 89 days? Because on day 90, you got to be back in the United States. So
I get that.
that's where
Yeah.
you're at. Um, your main, what you would be doing is you would be serving, you would be temporarily appointed to the English speaking United Methodist Church. You would also be meeting uh, with the Czech Republic pastors. They have a pastors meeting a couple of times a month, and you'll be invited to attend those. You'll have someone next to you who will be translating for you, or you can just do what I did. Google Translate works just fine. It works
Hmm.
really well. Uh,
That's
and
great.
and I was, by the way, if that's something that is causing someone to fear about going over there is language, yes, sure, everybody around you is not speaking English, and you gotta get used to that, but Google Translate does just fine. It does great, as a matter of fact. When I went a year ago, it was okay, but in 1 year, the technology has gotten so good that I really did not have any problem at all. So I use that, especially in the pastors' meetings, or any other time that I need it, to know what was going on. Now, Ivana and Peter will also send you to other churches to preach where you will have to use a translator. The translators that they provide are incredible. They are wonderful. And if you were at annual conference and you saw, you know, uh, what we witnessed using translation, you've got 2 pastors who are preaching in that, and, that's what it ends up becoming, and
Yeah.
it's just a neat experience. But the translators that I had were really very qualified, and they worked out just fine. The I will tell you that I have, a prayer shawl ministry here in Dahlonega Methodist Church, and they sent me with prayer shawls, and the Holy Spirit, when I would get to a church that I was preaching at, and the Holy Spirit would open up my eyes to someone who is sick or lonely or in need, and I would talk to the pastor and say, "Could I give this person one of these prayer shawls and pray over them?" Justin, one of the neatest things that happened was there was a woman the Sunday that I preached at her church. It was actually Peter's church. She had just been diagnosed with cancer, and the congregation gathered around her to pray, and I was able to give her that prayer shawl, and it was pretty bad. She didn't live very long, but she had that prayer shawl, and she clung to that prayer shawl, and she said it was like God holding her
Mm.
through this process, and just holding on to the fringe of Jesus. And the fact that we as Americans, and that she knew that Dahlonega Methodist Church was praying over her.
Mm.
That meant everything to her, and she died with that prayer shawl wrapped around her. I mean, so you're doing pastoral care not just in the English speaking church, but you're doing it in the other churches as well. And the Methodist pastors, because there's so few, and they just need help.
Yeah.
They need support, they need prayer, they need a pastor. They need help, and they're calling on our GMC brothers and sisters to do that, to help them, to give them encouragement, to give them hope.
Well, that's awesome. So, if you're watching this and the Holy Spirit's stirring something into you, that maybe it's time to spend, just shy of 3 months in the Czech Republic, preaching the gospel, bringing the good news to those uh, who are loved dearly by God in a country that's different than your own. Maybe even experience something multicultural, multi ethnic. Let Robin know. I'm sure she's the right person, especially as your presiding elder for the conference. She's used to getting random phone calls,
Yeah.
and she'd love to hear from you that God may be leading you to go to the Czech Republic next year. So, um,
Justin, what I hope to do, and this kind of just came to me this morning because I am getting the emails. I haven't talked to Andy about this yet, so Andy, forgive me. But I think what I may try to do with Andy's permission is to set up maybe a couple of days where I set up a Zoom and anyone who's interested could Zoom with me as a group, of course, and ask any questions that they want to ask. And hopefully we can work out a schedule where I can send enough pastors who are willing to go next year.
That would be incredible. But what I also took from that is it sounds like at first glance that you're going to be a part-time preacher for 89 days. But what you shared is that you're going to be a pastor.
Mhm.
Probably you're going to experience the beauty of Prague and the difference of culture and but it's not just all right, bring 3 months worth of your pre-prepared sermons and get
No,
ready to go. You're gonna have to walk with people,
yes,
for 90 days, and so, the reality is this is not just I love telling people the truth, right? The truth is this is not a 3-month vacation.
no,
The
no,
truth is this is 3 months of working with the power of the Holy Spirit to bring the good news to the people of the Czech Republic who may be Czech and they may be from the ends of the earth.
that's right.
And so,
Think about the location of the Czech Republic. Go look on the map. Take a look at it. You will God will show you that it is the center, and only 12% say that they're Christian. God is sending out the global Methodist Church into the center of Europe to make disciples who make disciples, to spread scriptural holiness, to do something incredible. And
yeah,
just like the rays of light, that's going to go out from Central Europe all over the world. This really is our ends of the earth. This is one of our places that we're being sent.
I love it. I love it. Um, how, how can the rest of us who may not be sent, how can we intentionally be praying for those who are going and for those who are receiving them on the other end?
You know, definitely intentionally praying for first. I am asking that you pray for the whole of the Czech Republic, for all of those. So when Dan and Michael came, we went on 5 different tours. Of the 4 of those tours, we had 4 different guides, and they do what all guides do. What do you do for a living? And when I said I'm a global Methodist pastor, they all 4 of them immediately said, "Well, I don't believe in God." And I will tell you that they're not atheists, they are neo-paganists, and that's different. A neo-paganist not only doesn't believe in God, but a neo-paganist believes that they can be God. That's what is happening all over the world, but especially in Europe right now. People who not only don't believe in God, but they think they can just be gods themselves. Um, and so pray for the people of the Czech Republic. Um, please, please pray for the United Methodist pastors in the Czech Republic. They need your prayers desperately. Pray for a renewal of the Holy Spirit, to be baptized in the Holy Spirit, because with the Holy Spirit, they can have the energy and the stamina to continue on. Um, Pray that we as the GMC will continue to partner with them to help them to be that light, because we needed that at one time. And
Mhm.
someone was willing to walk with us. It's time for us to pay it forward and walk with them as well. Um, Pray for Ivana, who is the district superintendent. Pray for Bishop Webb, as he is also leading in that area. Pray for the college students in that dorm. Pray for them. Pray for uh, my team, my Dahlonega Methodist team, who are going to do camp. By the way, you may say, I don't think that I'm called to go 90 days. But man, I'd love to have a team that's willing to do that. Call Jeff Jernigan, because guess what? He wants a third team. He wants us to send a third team out into the Czech Republic. And you've got 1 year to get ready to do that. So if you're a church that's thinking, hey, I'd love to do that, then talk to Jeff Jernigan or come talk to me about it.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Well, Robin, I love that you followed the call of the Holy Spirit, even to somewhere you weren't necessarily super excited to go. At least not at first.
No,
And just to see how God's at work. If we look, we will find that God's hand is in all of creation. And so there's nowhere we can go where God is not. And so I'm excited to hear of how God is growing in the Czech Republic, how he's going to continue to walk alongside the pastors that are leading over there and the pastors that are going to go over there and be a part of it. And if you are interested in joining, be sure to reach out to Robin.
yeah,
We will make sure that her contact information's in the show notes or however she wants to make it happen, so that you can reach out to her and let her know that God's maybe stirring something in you to get over to the Czech Republic and spread the gospel. Robin, thank you so much for the way that you're leading at Dahlonega. Thank you for saying yes to be a presiding elder. Um, I was telling you earlier, I actually enjoy calling my presiding elder,
yeah.
and so that's been a fun thing for me over the last couple years. But just thank you for the way that you're serving, and thanks for Dan letting you go uh,
Yeah.
do what you did for 3 months. So, uh, just grateful for your leadership.
Thank you, Justin. It has been a joy to be able to talk with you today and with all of my global Methodist brothers and sisters.
Well, and that leaves it to you. So if you're watching this podcast, we're so glad that you joined us today. Thank you for listening to see what is happening in Prague, what is happening in Czech Republic, maybe Prague, maybe another town. I don't know all the towns in Czech Republic. But continue. Make sure that you are praying. We have brothers and sisters who are in the Czech Republic actively reaching to a lost society. And so this is the ends of the earth. This is the beginning of the ends of the earth for a lot of us. It is the opportunity to be in the center of the spread of the gospel in Europe. And so could be super fun. Thank you. Make sure to like and subscribe so that we know that you were here, and you'll hear about future episodes. And we hope that no matter where you're watching, whether you're here in North Georgia or maybe one of Robin's friends over in the Czech Republic, we hope that you are experiencing the love of Jesus in your life. So go with God.